Hello everybody, welcome to an episode of Moe'S CD Culture Show and Tell. And today I am actually borrowing an idea from Larry Graves, who also goes by the name of Canadian Stud Muffin. He did his picks of top 15 of his favorite debut albums of whatever he had in his collection. And taking a cue from that, I wanted to show you a top 10 that I have in my collection. I have a few others, but these ones here kind of floated to the top. But before I begin that, I just want to start off with some honorable mentions, as you've seen in the thumbnail. Yeah, I showed you the honorable mentions in the thumbnail. For example, Appetite for Destruction, still a stellar debut album. The first time hearing the Welcome to the Jungle, seeing that video, and then not too long after Paradise City, and then had to go buy the album, and the whole album is good. Say what you will, I know there's going to be those people who don't like Axl Rose's voice. That's fine, you don't need to. I like this album. I like his voice in it. It fits the band. I mean, it could not be Guns N' Roses without Axl Rose. Axl Rose makes it what it is. Look, the guy has range, okay? I just want to make another little quick note about Axl Rose. When AC/DC needed a replacement singer temporarily, they got Axl Rose to substitute for doing AC/DC songs, and he was able to do easily the old Bon Scott songs and the newer Brian Johnson songs, and he nailed them. He was the perfect person to take the singer's place in AC/DC. So yeah, I have to give props to that. That's a great. But these are honorable mentions. I mean, yeah, another stellar debut album from an awesome band, self-titled, of course. And yeah, there's not much I can say. Those are the songs on there. And yeah, it's just an honorable mention. And same thing with this one. I still think this is a very strong album for The Doors. Just self-titled. That's sometimes that's what all you need is to self-title yourself, and that makes for the perfect debut album title. Trying to give your debut album a title, it's a little pretentious. I think you just want to start off and just your band name. That's all you need, and say this is who we are. This is our debut album. Take what you will from that. So that's the honorable mentions. I didn't even get into the top 10 yet. So, as we go into it, and this is not necessarily ranked in any order of importance, I'll rate the albums from what I think of them, because they are kind of my top 10 that I have, that I love, but with little caveats here and there. But anyway, let's start with number 10. This poster right here, this little mini poster for, yes, Legends of the Seagull Man. And I hope you can see that. It's such a concept album. It's their debut album. It's self-titled. That's what it's called. Legends of the Seagull Man. Again, you don't want to give it an extra title more than that. So that's the name of the group, and that's the name of the album. So I love it. Now, denote, it's the drummer, Danny Carey, from Tool. I think that's him right there, and that would be him right there. But yeah, he's playing drums on that, and yeah, he kills it. It's been compared to Captain Beyond, and it has a member from Mastodon and the drummer Danny Carey from Tool. So that is in my number 10 position. Yeah. So if you haven't heard this at all yet, what are you waiting for? Go check it out. So, yeah, that's number 10. At the number 9 position, and it wasn't that I saw any videos from them. Whereas I probably could have, and I probably would have started liking the band just from that one video that they have many videos, but that one video that I really liked. But it was from a guy I used to work with at the movie theater in the kitchen and that, and he suggested that I would pay attention to this band, and he gave me he gave me a little bit to sample, and then I ended up buying pretty much all their as many albums as I can find from them, and that's Franz Ferdinand. And speaking of Franz Ferdinand and one of my new favorite bands there, Sparks, I still need to get that CD, the FFS, where they team up with Sparks. But this is about debut albums, and that is a debut album, again, self-titled. There's no other title but their band name, which is Franz Ferdinand. So that's what you want to do. That's a number 9. Now, at number 8 is Prozac, Hot Show. Now, the way I discovered this band was from a 30-second commercial on Much Music. It was just a 30-second commercial, and it showed us just a small portion of the video. The song was mesmerizing, and I just had to know what that song was. And in the video, they were like a 30-second video. They were playing a snippet from Alma Bala Sheree. Just that 30-second snippet made me go out and buy this whole album. And I don't regret that, because I love them. There's a couple of albums I am missing of them, but I have 2 important albums that I really like. But I do need their second album, Saturday People. I don't have that, and I'm dying to get that. But see that track list there, if you can. Such a great album. I really suggest. It's very dancey, and I have told stories about this album before, and if you can probably go back and find them in my previous videos where I talk about this. And yeah, so that is in my number, what is that? 10, 9, 8. So that's number 8, yes. In my number 7 position is a band, again, when it was just from a video, I had from just a video for Judith, and we're talking about A Perfect Circle. Again, debut album, but this one's called Mère de Nord, but it is their debut album, and it was that video for Judith where it's like I knew that was Maynard, even though he had, for all of a sudden, had such super freaking long hair. It's like, is he wearing a wig? How did he grow his hair that long so fast? Because I remember him not long ago in Tool being bald, like pretty much bald, or having a mohawk. How does he have such a long hair? And then the intensity in that song. And this is such a great debut album. Again, if you're not familiar with this, go and check it out. Yeah. So as you see, my taste in music is all over the place. It's very eclectic. I just don't stick to certain genres. I'm attracted to any kind of music that moves me in a particular way, for whatever reason. Now, so how many do I have left to go through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so at the 6th position, okay. Now, this is the album that it was introduced to this artist was not the album that, I first heard this album of Solitude Standing from Suzanne Vega, but that led me backwards to this, of getting that very first debut self-titled album, just called Suzanne Vega. It's your debut album. It has great songs on it that I love. It's such a mellow folk singer, just her basically, and an acoustic guitar mostly. And I mean, there is her later albums do get more poppy and like more radio friendly, and has a band and all that stuff. But to go back to her roots with these, especially these 2 albums, But this was my introduction to her with the video for Luca, which got my attention. This is what, yeah, this is what made me love Suzanne Vega even more and made her one of my. I still want to say she is my top favorite female singer. She's really up there. There's a lot up there that I really love, and without like, I mean, there's a lot of the cliche that everybody loves for female singers, but Suzanne Vega, yeah, she's up there as one of my favorites. Now I think I'm at number 5. Yeah, I'm at number 5. And I remember getting introduced to this album, and when I was introduced to this, it was on, it was vinyl, an LP, and I can still remember the conversation in the store when I was introduced. Me and my friend Little Mo, we went into a place called the Passage that was used to be on Main Street, and that's when they used to sell albums and everything. Now they kind of turned into this kind of what would you call that, new age kind of with crystals and incense and books about meditation, that kind of a shop, and it dedicates itself more to that type of stuff. But it used to be, what I used to remember the Passage being was a place where you can go and get albums. And I think the guy's name was Ron, the guy behind the counter, and he brought out this. He brought out Steve Vai Flexible, and I remember his conversation too, because he was talking about how people, they get into their head when they see something they want that they can't have, but they really want it, and they get all out of breath, and then and I was looking at that, and I had just about enough to buy it, but I didn't have quite enough. I had to save up a little bit more to buy it. But I was looking at that album like, I need that album, yeah. And I kind of understanding what he was telling me, and that's where he was telling me that people just need to start just every now and then take a deep breath. Just start focusing on your breathing and getting that, because he says a lot of times he was noticing that people would get all fidgety and like they jonesing for an object, but it was this album he was promoting with that weird story, and I remember bringing it home and it's wacky, it's weird. I mean, Steve Vai Flexible, that is the beginning of Steve Vai, and yeah, and then after that going to Passion and Warfare and so on and so forth. But that was my introduction to Steve Vai, and then seeing some videos of him on Much Music and stuff. But I would have been a fan by those videos. As soon as I saw those videos, I would have been a big fan anyway. But I was introduced right early when this album was first released, and yeah, it was. So that's why this is a number 5 position. In the number 4 position, and again, this is not the album that I was introduced with the band, but it was the album that when I first learned about this album, and that there was a different drummer, and it's the last song on the album that got them their fame, which is actually the second longest song on the album. But yeah, talking about Rush here, and again, self-titled, Rush. You don't need a title. That makes always the best debut title. Like, just name yourself. That's it. But yeah, it's Working Man, of course, that made them popular, that got them on the map in the first place. But unfortunately, they had to replace John Rutsey. I mean, unfortunately, but fortunately for us, because it just made Rush one of the best power trios out there, and probably, I would say, the best Canadian band out there. I'm just thinking to myself, the second probably I would have to say iconically, which should be the Tragically Hip, and which I so sorely need to get their whole entire catalog. I need all their stuff. I don't have anything from the Tragically Hip, but yeah. But Rush, yeah, being my favorite Canadian band, and yeah, that's their debut album, and I still think it's friggin' fantastic. And learning all about their history and that, as one of the bands that I say that never stops fascinating me with they, no matter how many times I see any of those those documentaries or interviews or even their videos, then it keeps wowing me how awesome those guys are, and it makes me love them even more, because I can never get tired of listening to Rush. And I need to listen to more. I don't listen to enough Rush yet. That's why, but I have some up in there, up in my heavy rotation box. Now, in the number 3 position, okay, and we're going, and again, these are not in necessarily any order of importance, but they kind of are in a way. The number 3 position was my very first favorite band, and like I liked music, but I didn't love music until I heard this for the first time. When my Uncle Frankie brought this home and he played that, it was my first real introduction to that type of music, to that type of world, and it shaped my love for music ever since. And that would be debut album, self-titled. Remember what I say about having a self-title. When you're self-titled, you're amazing. It's awesome. So that it's a number 3, yes, but this album still there is still number 1 in many respects, because it's my very first real memory of getting into something and having and your understanding expand exponentially in ways that you hadn't realized before. It opened your mind to other possibilities, and just, yeah, I was hooked. I was hooked from that. I mean, but basically, Rock and Roll All Night, when that hit the radio and everybody else started loving Kiss as much as I did, that's what really catapulted to my favorite, being like my really favorite band. But it all started with this. That's the number 3. And number 2 is my second favorite band of all time, because I've only had 3 favorite, my 3 favorite bands in any list. And yeah, starting with Kiss. And then when they took off their makeup and I lost interest in Kiss, and it wasn't, again, it's not this album that I discovered them on. It's their 3rd album that I discovered this next band on. But going back and then hearing this for the first time, especially track number 5. And I'm talking about Kill 'Em All. They put out a self-titled album years later. That's people like, no, that's not self-titled. It's the Black Album. It's the Black Album. It's not self-titled. But yeah, this should have been self-titled. They wanted to call it Metal Up Your Beep, but I'm not going to say that. And they had a whole other idea of I don't even want to describe what their other cover was going to be like, but it was going to be vile and despicable, and so that was their compromise. Let's kill them all then, yeah. So yeah, that is an awesome debut, and of course I was talking about their 5th track of Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. Hearing that bass solo and understanding that the bass, like I always thought a bass was always just reserved for keeping the rhythm, keeping that, the bass. Why is it called the bass? Because it's your base, it's your foundation for the song, and I always thought it was used in a different way. I mean, this was before I even knew who Les Claypool was. And then realizing again the dynamics and the range that a bass can be, that it doesn't have to be just that simple boom, 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 keeping the rhythm type of thing. No, it can be more than that. And Cliff Burton went and was the first one to really prove that to me in many respects. So yeah, so kudos to that, and that's why this was my number 2 favorite debuts that I have in my collection. Now, no doubt you're gonna say, of course, I knew this was going to be your number 1. How could it not be your number 1? Now for me, okay, personally, what do you consider the actual debut of the band? Now, if you're talking of first full-length studio albums, then there's that, or their first EP, the very first EP that introduced them, and this is the first thing I ever heard, and this was before their first live studio album, full-length studio album came out. And I'm talking about, first let's start Opiate. When I first heard this band, it was just this album. And way back in '92, mostly partly from a skateboard video that my best friend was showing me, where they were playing Part of Me, and then seeing the video and remembering that I saw and loved the video for Hush, and really understanding and getting behind the concept behind the whole message of censorship and what it means to them, and completely buying into that, and then from hearing that song Part of Me on that skateboard video, it made me go out and buy this album. And to me personally, I consider that their debut, because that is what I was first exposed to for Tool. It became my favorite band with only this album, when it was only this album. Never dreaming that it was going to go in that direction and be such a supernatural connection with me. Like I've said many times before in previous episodes, that when it comes to Tool, I have a supernatural connection with them. There's nothing better. But if you want to count that as their actual debut album, because it's their first full length studio album, then go ahead, because I can't knock it either. It's equally. I want to say these two are equally awesome for Tool. It does not even come close to how I feel about Lateralis being my ultimate favorite album of all time. Like it's going to be that from I think until the end of time. Like every time I try to think of what could ever replace it, and I've been trying to be wowed by new music to try to see if anything could replace it, but no, nothing comes close to it to me. So yeah, I mean these come close, of course, because they were the primary start of my love for that type of genre of music, and even got me to appreciate Rush more so than I would have ever expected to, and it is due to these guys. And when you understand that Danny Carey, the drummer I was talking about from way back at the beginning there with number 10, the Legend of the Seagull Man, Danny Carey of Tool, he was highly influenced by Neil Peart of Rush, which is number 4, and it's all connected in its own beautiful way. How a different, such a broad spectrum of music can have such a powerful force and such a powerful meaning, and make you just like each of these albums in its respects are very transformative and changed my perception of how I saw music. They were milestones. Now, I could have put other stuff in this list too. I could have put the first I could have put the first Ozzy album, like solo album, up here. I could have put Nirvana's debut album up here. I could have put I could have put Weird Al Yankovic's debut album up here. But I chose these. Those are my choices of the top 10. So I'm just going to let you go here. I don't say this very often, but I do kind of want to, since I'm making this a long video anyway, I want to add that if you want to consider subscribing to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I really hope that my content is right for you, and you're always welcome. Anybody is welcome. As long as you have consideration, dignity, and respect for other people, you are most welcome. And if not, you're still welcome, but, I kind of hope you work on that. But anyway, before I start rambling, I'm going to let you go here, and please like the video. Please don't forget to press the like on the video. Please leave a comment. I love comments. And as always, please be safe. Take care. I will see you on the flip side. And please, everybody, have a great day, evening, night, wherever you may be. Peace, everybody.